Here we are with part 3 of our student spreadsheet. We've already added in our formulas down here at the bottom to calculate the total as well as the average and the high using the max function and then the low using the min function. For this, we've done it for age, pets, and siblings, and depending on what your fourth column of data is, you can either calculate that if they are values, or if they're labels like mine are, it wouldn't make sense at this point to calculate those. But this is what your sheet should look like after completing part 2. Part 3 is going to have us go in and work with this data. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to highlight row 1 through 11. And you do that by clicking on the number 1 over here on the left side. Make sure you don't accidentally click on the edge, otherwise you're going to move things around. So click right here on row 1. It looks like a little black arrow on Excel. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down, and it highlights all of these rows all the way over. Then I'm going to use my editing tools over here. Now you can get to this from 2 different places. Over here on the right side, I have sort and filter. And if your screen is half size, that might be slightly hidden. You can also get to that under the data tab right here. And you'll see the sort and filter option is here as well. So we are doing a custom sort. So it's this button here if you're on the data screen, or if you're on the home screen, it is this button here called a custom sort. And I'm used to using it under data, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to click sort or custom sort. And what that does is allow me to choose how to rearrange this data. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to select student name, and it knows student name because I highlighted row 1, which has all my column headers. When I click on student name, and I'm going to leave it from A to Z because I want it to be alphabetical. And that's going to sort all of my data here alphabetically by the student's name. And since I highlighted everything, it's also going to bring that data along with it. Now, as a word of warning, if I accidentally only highlighted the names, it will sort the names, but then all of the data that's attached to these names won't sort and won't move, and everything will be messed up. If that does happen, make sure you click the undo button. All right, but mine was good, so I clicked OK, and it sorted everything alphabetically by names. And that's a nice, easy way to sort things alphabetically. You can also do it numerically, of course, as well. Next thing I'm going to do is I am going to highlight from cell A1 all the way down to D1. I'm not including these because these are not numbers or values. And I'm going to insert a chart. And I do that by going to the insert menu up here at the top. And then right here, you can see it's got a little pop-up giving me some suggestions, but I'm going to use the menu up here at the top. I have a lot of different charts. Now I can go with the recommended charts, but I would rather to actually know what kind of chart I should be using for this. And that's where, if you take a look at this little sheet here, you've got 3 main types of charts. You've got a pie chart, which is best for comparing what percentage of a whole number. So in other words, if you look at this, it takes the entire amount of animals, and then it shows you what percent that one particular animal is of everything. So the key word for that would be percentage. So if you're looking for the percentage of a whole, a pie chart is the type of chart you would choose. If you have something where you are comparing something where it changes over time, so for example, if you're comparing something to see if it increases or decreases over an amount of days or years, then that would be a line chart. And the key word in that, it would be time. That's why I have that highlighted and in red. And then the third type of chart is a column chart. And then there's also one called a bar chart, which these looks the same except they go sideways instead of up and down, the little graph charts. And that is best for comparing between different things, groups, people, whatever they are. But if you're trying to compare them to each other, rather than over time or worrying about a percentage, then you would use a column chart. Okay, so if you're looking at this, I don't have anything about percentages in here. I don't have anything about a period of time. That's not really, nothing's changing over time when I am comparing my data here. So that's telling me I'm going to use a column chart. Okay, so once again, I'm going to highlight from column A or cell A1 all the way down to D11. And I'm going to go here, and here are my different types of column and or bar charts. It's this little icon. I click the arrow, and it's going to give me some 2D column choices here and some 2D bar choices. You can see they're the same thing, really. They just go either to the left or to the right. You generally do not want to, for this, use stacked because that is where you're adding things together. That's not applicable for this type of data. So we're going to use this first one, and it's up to you if you want to use a 3D or a 2D. Sometimes 2D looks a little cleaner, but I can actually use 3D for this one. I'm going to go ahead and click it, put it over here, and I'm going to take a look at what this is doing. And it's charting my age, my pets, my siblings, all this data out of my chart or out of my data. And it's a little hard to read because it's got age all the way up here, and it's got siblings all the way down here, and it's got pets in orange. And really, if I wanted to say, okay, who has the most siblings, it's a little hard to read because it's got a whole bunch of data kind of unrelated to each other into one chart. So this is an example of a chart that maybe is showing too much and is not useful. So I actually want you to go ahead and click on this. And you can tell I have it selected, and press the delete button on your keyboard, and that will actually delete that chart. All right. And then we're going to create a more useful chart. This is where I'm going to now highlight the word student name and age, but I'm only going to highlight that information all the way down to age. Okay, so I've got the number 10 here for my very last person. And I'm going to go to insert again. And this time I'm going to do a simple 2D chart. All right. And then I have my chart tool options, as long as my chart is selected here, where I can go through. And the biggest thing I want to be able to do is over here on the left side, I want to add chart elements. And that's where I'm going to click here and go through and change and add some extra elements to this. So for example, if I don't like the title, I'm going to go to chart title, and I can change where it is. I actually like where it is, but I'm going to click on it and change what it says. Right now it's just called age, but I'm going to call it, student age. I think it's a little more descriptive. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add something that I think is very important. It's called data labels. And if you change nothing else on here, data labels allow you to add what that actual numerical amount, that value, and it allows you to add that to the chart. I like outside end because you can actually read it there. And now it's real easy for me to quickly see, okay, who's my oldest student here? All right, it's Logan, he's 13. Now, I also want to create 3 additional charts. I want to create one for pets and one for siblings, or 2 additional charts. So I'm going to highlight, for those, it's a little tricky. First, I'm going to highlight student name, make sure I include the word student name, and then I'm going to look on my keyboard and press the control key. It's all the way in the left corner. When I hold down control, it doesn't look like anything happened, but that allows me to now click and drag and select the pets. And then I'm going to let go of control, and now it allowed me to kind of skip a column here to select things. I'm going to go to insert. I'm going to insert a chart. These are my pets. Maybe I want to change the title. I definitely want to go ahead and add my data labels. And I'm going to put that right here under outside end. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing for siblings. Create this. Hold down the Alt key, or the Control key, rather. And I'm going to go to insert and insert a 2D column chart. And I'm going to have to pick it up, move it. Maybe I shove it over here. Go in. Add my data labels to my outside end of that. All right. Now, if I don't like the colors, I can go in and change colors and things like that. I can modify some other things on here, but I try not to get too crazy with the modifications because then it makes it hard to read. Then the final thing I want you to do before you turn this in is I want you to create 3 questions, 1 question for each chart that can be asked and answered with that chart. For example, student age. Maybe I want to say which students are the oldest, or what students are 11, or how many students are 10 years old. And then you can easily look at that chart and answer it using that data. All right. The last thing, maybe under pets, I would do a similar question. And I want you to just type those down here and then answer it right next to it, save it, and we are going to submit this on Google Classroom once you are done.